I wanted to try and find out a way to do this video without possibly spoiling. Hold on, wait, I gotta check the script. After the release of Limbus Company, I think that a lot of Project Moon games have gotten a lot more attention than they used to have. So I'm aware that there might be some people here who only know about Limbus Company and haven't played the other two games, which is why whenever there are spoilers in this iceberg, I'm gonna put this warning up on screen. That being said, if you want the full experience of the video, maybe, I don't know, look up a summary of the story or play the games yourself, that's even better. Today I'm going to be doing a video on the Project Moon iceberg, created by user Prince Noel. I don't really see any point to stall this, so let's start the thing. Lobotomy Corporation / Library of Rena. As I mentioned previously, with how popular Limbus Company has gotten in recent time, I think that the amount of people who don't know Lobotomy Corporation or Library of Rena has grown a lot. So I'm just gonna cover all of these, even though if you clicked on a Project Moon iceberg, there's a good chance you know what Lobotomy Corporation and Library of Rena are. Lobotomy Corporation is the first game released by Project Moon. Released in December of 2016, Lobotomy Corporation is a monster management game inspired by the SCP Foundation and movies like Cabin in the Woods and Evangelion, but we're not talking about that. You play as the manager of a giant corporation called Lobotomy Corporation, one of the many huge corporate conglomerates of the world. Your job is to generate energy by conducting work on the abnormalities and to produce powerful weapons and armor known as ego. Although the concept seems fairly simple, as the days go on, the abnormalities you have to manage increase in complexity and you're given other tasks to complete that will advance the story. Library of Rena is the direct sequel to Lobotomy Corporation, released in May of 2020. Library of Rena takes a wildly different spin on the series by being a deck-building strategy game inspired by the short story The Library of Babel, set in the world of Lobotomy Corporation. Although the game is wildly different from Lobotomy Corporation, it's still good in its own way. Plague Doctor is White Knight. Plague Doctor is an abnormality in Lobotomy Corporation. Although seemingly an innocent and harmless abnormality, with every single employee that gets a good or bad result, it transforms slightly, and when it blesses 12 employees, it transforms into the most dangerous abnormality in the game, called White Knight. Even though it's the most deadly abnormality, it's almost always beneficial to pick it because of the insanely powerful ego it offers and the fact that it heals all employees in the facility when it gets a good work result. Lobotomy Corporation inspired by SCP. As I said earlier, Lobotomy Corporation is inspired by the SCP Foundation, a collective writing group that centers around writing stories and fictional documents in the style of secret government documents belonging to a shadow organization that contains anomalous objects and entities. Lobotomy Corporation even says that it's inspired by SCP on its Steam page. Picrus. There are multiple Picru websites that let you make a little lobotomy guy in their art style. That's how I made my profile picture. I'll link the one I used in the description, if you want to make your own. Memory leaks in Lobotomy Corporation. The memory leak problem is an unsolved glitch that happens to some people, where the game would crash due to memory leaks. Although I've never seen one myself. At this point, I don't think Project Moon are paying much attention to Lobotomy Corporation to fix it, especially since there's a fan-made mod that fixes it. That'll also be in the description. Kabbalah meanings. Lobotomy Corporation takes a lot of inspiration from the Kabbalah, a Jewish mysticism / form of study of the Torah. The Sfirot and all their names, as well as the personalities, are directly inspired by the real-life Sfirot. Nuggets. The fan-made name for all employees in Lobotomy Corporation, which as of Library of Rena was made semi-canon through the name of an achievement. Lovetown. We don't talk about Lovetown. Apocalypse Bird / the Black Forest. This is a reference to the 3 bird abnormalities in the game who, once they all escape, will transform into the Apocalypse Bird, which is an abnormality that you can't contain and that serves more as an additional boss fight. If you beat it, you get 1 copy of the best eco gear in the game. Wonderlab. Wonderlab is a comic set during and shortly after the events of Lobotomy Corporation. The story follows the adventures of a group of nuggets who work in a branch of Lobotomy Corporation. It's a nice side story with its own abnormalities that don't appear in Lobotomy Corporation, but some of them do in Library of Reno. Limbus Company. At the time of the creation of this iceberg, Limbus Company was still in really early development, so that's why it's in Tier 2. Nowadays, it would probably be all the way at the top of Tier 1. In fact, it should have been all the way up with Lobotomy Corporation and Library of Reno. Distortion Detective. In a similar vein to Wonderlab, Distortion Detective is an unfinished side story that takes place during the start of Library of Reno. It follows Moses, a fixer who has the ability to see distortions before they manifest, and her assistant Ezra, who has an affinity for fixer gear. The reason for its discontinuation is because Project Moon have expressed interest in including Moses and Ezra into Limbus Company. Well, not them specifically, just the story of the Distortion Detective. Ham Ham Pang Pang. Ham Ham Pang Pang is a restaurant in Korea themed around Project Moon games, owned by Project Moon. They serve food and drinks based around the characters in the universe and also sell Project Moon merchandise. Although it's exclusive to Korea for now, Project Moon have talked about opening other locations. Up until now, it's most likely been an issue of funding, so if you want Ham Ham Pang Pang in your vicinity, start buying Lunacy packages. Leviathan. Leviathan is a side comic set right after Library of Reno. It follows Virgilius and his fixer office before the events of Limbus Company. Although there are 20 chapters, only 15 are available in English. There are fan translations for the other 5, but I've heard they're very inaccurate, and it's just, you'd be better off waiting for the official translations, which I don't know at this point. I don't know when they show up. So yeah. Update Friday, also known as Limbus Friday, is in reference to the fact that the Limbus Company Twitter account would post updates on the progress of Limbus Company every Friday, although they stopped when the delay in development was announced. Bong Bong. Bong Bong is a blue-haired employee who was created during a shared playthrough of Lobotomy Corporation done on the V-board of 4chan, where they would swap a save file amongst each other and each play one day. Someone had hired Bong Bong on their day, and everyone liked her so much she became a staple of that shared playthrough. Ever since then, she has become sort of a meme in the community, partly because of people like Eric's03, who would draw fan art of Bong Bong every day for a year. And I also had an entire department full of Bong Bongs on my initial playthrough. Here's a picture. Millie. Millie is a Japanese indie music group consisting of Katsue, Yamato Kasai, Yukikoto Mitomo, Shoto Yoshida, and Dao Fujimori. They did some of the songs in Library of Reno and are now making songs for Limbus Company as well. Challenge Mode, a bonus mode in Lobotomy Corporation that you can unlock by getting to day 50. It allows you to keep playing the game until day 99, with no additional story and an increase in difficulty. Oswald is based off the Red Dawn from Lobotomy Corporation. Well, yeah, the design is inspired by it. I'm not sure if they have any relation to the actual Red Dawn or the Red Ordeals in general. The theme of the ordeal plays during the Distorted Ensemble fight, so that could possibly be enough to confirm it. We just don't know anything about Oswald before his distortion, so it's hard to confirm. Library of Reno original ending. There's a cut post-credits scene to the Library of Reno where Yori, having regained a form after the events of Library of Reno, speaks to members of the Hana Association about the future of the city now that the library has been sent to the outskirts. By her description, the library can't be approached by anyone anymore because it disappears like a mirage when anyone approaches it. She also mentions the sinners, which she calls egoists, for their ability to use ego. This was obviously a setup to Limbus Company, and I'm not sure why they cut it. Kether realization was rushed. The floor of General Works used to not have a realization, and the community kept complaining about it, and the outrage prompted Project Moon to rush and create the Kether realization right before the release, which is why it feels so different to every other realization. In the art book, it even says the realization was the last thing they made for the game. This is also the update that made them remove the original ending, so yeah, that's your fault. Tumblebug. Tumblebug is the Korean version of Kickstarter, and this is in reference to the Tumblebug for Lobotomy Corporation in 2015, where it gathered 15 million Korean won. You can also see some of the earliest concept arts and updates regarding Lobotomy Corporation, where you can see that the characters look like this. Look at this guy. What's up with the Ava Unit 1 tattoo? Is this A? Who is this? The Sexy Man Wiki. The Tumblr Sexy Man Wiki. Wow. Tumblr Sexy Man Wiki is a wiki where people write entries about the myriad of existing Tumblr Sexy Man. If you don't know what a Tumblr Sexy Man is, I'm not gonna explain it, and you should watch this video by Iziz. I'm hoping that I pronounced that right. This specific entry is in reference to when someone made an article for Argalia on the wiki, and the article was removed because Argalia was deemed too conventionally attractive. In this same vein, there was an incident where someone kept trying to sneak Argalia into the Wikipedia page for George of the Jungle. That's completely real, and I can't find evidence of it. I'm sorry. I heard that Roland at one point also had a page that was removed for the same reason, but he now just has a page. But after a while, Argalia did actually get his page, and it's still up, so take that. I don't know who took that. Okay, this is me in editing. I don't know what kind of vendetta the Project Moon fandom has against the George of the Jungle animated 2007 series Wikipedia, because if you go to the history, so there are a lot of downvoted ones, right? And you see the upvoted one, you scroll down. Cromer, the one who grips, she appears in the background of every episode. This is new. This is not Argalia. And it's still happening, by the way. Where is it? Hold on. There it is. He's added back. There he is. Now this one's okay. Hold on. This one is very highly upvoted. What is this? You have probably never heard the name Lobotomy Corporation. If you like small children losing their best friends, laboratory experiment failures of drinking battery acid, you should play Lobotomy Corporation. This is the entire summary of Lobotomy Corporation on the George of the Jungle Wikipedia. And Argalia is here again. What is it with this specific Wikipedia and everybody who tries to revert this gets completely bombed by downvotes? No, he's still here. Okay, he's still in this one. They missed him. I'm convinced that like someone's gonna watch this video and they're gonna go on this wiki and edit it so that Argalia is somewhere in here, or Cromer. I don't know. Keep doing it. Don't stop. I'm not telling you to stop doing it. Keep doing it. Lobotomy Corporation early builds. Well, Lobotomy Corporation has early builds which you can actually access and play. Just right-click on Lobotomy Corporation on Steam. Go to Properties, Betas, and then select the Legacy version. This version of the game is pretty different from the version we have now, but the biggest differences are the fact that you can't freely move nuggets throughout the facility, their very different design, and the fact that the middle and lower Sphirot don't exist. This version also has a few cut abnormalities if that interests you, like Price of Silence, who is my favorite abnormality, Theme 02. Theme 02 is this upbeat song that used to play in the credits before the final update, and it was replaced with Poems of a Machine by Millie, which is a really good song, but is still a huge tone shift from the vibe of the original theme. I mean, listen to both of them for a bit. Art books. The art books are DLC for Library of Arena and Lobotomy Corporation. They're PDF files that contain illustrations and cut content and behind the scenes for things in the game. The Library of Arena one is fully complete, while the Lobotomy Corporation one is missing everything on the Sphirot and the Ordeals or late game content. Welshers was based off Welches. Parker was replaced by Cat. Parker was the former head of disciplinary in Wonder Lab, who was introduced in the first episode and subsequently killed off with the introduction of Cat, who replaces them with as head of disciplinary. Placeholder guest pages. I'm not really sure what this is in reference to. I know that when you boot up a game with mods and then you get a page from the mod and then you change it, makes an empty page, so that might be what this is about. Cut abnormality pages. There are cut abnormality pages in the art book that look like pages for abnormalities from Lobotomy Corporation that just never made it into the game. There are cards for 1.76 MHz, Beauty and the Beast, Dreaming Current, Mirror of Adjustment, Schadenfreude, as well as a few others, as well as a few that seem to depict the 4 virtues, along with a 5th one. It's a shame that some of these got cut. I'd love to see how the shelter from the 27th of March fight would look. The Xbox trailer uses beta outfits. The Xbox trailer does in fact use the beta outfits for Yesod, Gebura, Hawkma, and Bina, auto battle simulation. Not a lot of people know this, not even myself, but really early in development, Library of Reno was going to be an auto battle simulation game, which for those of you who don't know, is neither do I, but the system was scrapped in early 2020 in favor of the current one. The sprites in this style for characters are still in the art book, along with an early UI for how the game would look with this system. And from the looks of this video, it seems like they were also going to use the 4 virtues in combat somehow. Anti-capitalist messaging. Editing Dan. I had a whole script planned out for this, but I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole, no matter how much they pay me. Cool Kids Club. The Cool Kids Club is a group that did the English localization of Lobotomy Corporation and then later was employed full-time by Project Moon for Library of Reno and Limbus Company. Old Abnormality pictures. I'm pretty sure this is in reference to the early observation drawings we see in the art book. Price of Silence, Silent Girl, and Nosferatu in DLC. 3 abnormalities that appear in Library of Reno, Price of Silence, Silent Girl, and Nosferatu are actually cut abnormalities from Lobotomy Corporation. As far as I know, only Price of Silence is in the legacy version of these 3. The other 2 were cut very late in development. There is a mod that adds Silent Girl into the game, and it's pretty good, as well as Price of Silence. Servant of Wrath, The Road Home, and Scaredy Cat are from Wonderlab. They do indeed make their debut in Wonderland, which is another reason why I recommend you read Wonderlab if you're playing Library of Reno and still haven't for some reason. Orlando Furioso. Orlando Furioso, or in English, The Frenzy of Orlando, or even Englishier, The Frenzy of Roland, is an Italian epic poem that is a sequel to another Italian epic poem called Orlando Innamorato, Orlando in Love, about the Christian knight Orlando who, enamored with the princess Angelica, forgoes his duty to protect his emperor during a war and pursues Angelica. During his pursuit, Angelica falls in love with another man and marries him. Orlando, after hearing this, goes on a rampage throughout Europe and Africa, destroying everything in his path, only to be stopped by his cousin Astolfo, who goes to the moon to find and return Orlando's wits to him. I'm not sure why this is on the iceberg. What the hell does Project Moon have to do with some random old Italian poem? But sure, I guess. Angelica was also the Black Silence. I'd like to correct this entry. Adjust glasses, furrows bow tie, polishes braces, and say that Angelica was most likely the original Black Silence, possessing the gloves. After her death, though, Roland was the one who took her gloves and became the Black Silence by, well, literally silencing the pianist. Roland Claw theories disproved. In the game's early days, before most of the story was out, there was a very popular fan theory that Roland would turn out to be a Claw because of his resemblance to a Claw in Lobotomy Corporation and because of his unexplained backstory. This, of course, we know isn't true. Blood Fiends. Blood Fiends are a race of vampiric creatures that have lived among humans for years. We don't know exactly how long, but it's implied that it was long before the events of Lobotomy Corporation. The original Blood Fiends aren't distortions. Instead, they're all part of some secret lineage of Blood Fiends after drinking blood in a certain mansion. It's implied through imagery in Library of Reno that the owner of this mansion was Nosferatu, who would later be contained by Lobotomy Corporation. The existence of Blood Fiends was kept mainly a secret up until the Blood Red Knight became a star of the city due to her unquenchable thirst. There's also another breed of Blood Fiends who are distortions that spawned after the Dark Days and are much more aggressive than the pre-existing Blood Fiends. Oswald lost his muscle. Oswald, what did the reverberation do to you, brother? Snow Queen and Bloodbath are related to Carmen. The Bloodbath is self-explanatory. It's the bath that Carmen committed suicide in. As for the Snow Queen, after Enoch's death, Carmen was described as being unnaturally cold towards everyone and her eyes having an icy and dull stare, as well as how later on after her death, Ein placed her body in a cryo chamber and created Angela from her, who is incredibly cold to everyone around her. So Bloodbath is related to Carmen and the Snow Queen to Angela. Hawkma's Meltdown was based off the Price of Silence. Not only does Hawkma's Meltdown form look similar to the Price of Silence, it also functions similar to how the Price of Silence does. When its mood was bad, pausing the game would kill a random employee in the facility. The Reverberation Ensemble reflect the librarians. The ensemble fight is built around having an Hold on, I gotta figure out how to pronounce this.
Clyphot.
There's no way that it's pronounced Clyphot. There is no way that it's pronounced Clypoth. Klipot. That makes more sense. How have I found a Japanese man explaining how to pronounce Clifoth and I still don't know how to pronounce it correctly? I'm gonna assume it's Clifoth. The ensemble fight is built around having the easiest time beating the fight if you're using the meta of each floor to completely counter each member, which makes sense since the ensemble in itself is the Clifoth, which is the opposite to the Sphirot, with each member being the opposite of every patron librarian. Nori Nori. Nori Nori, or Not Little Helper, as it's labeled in the art book, is a cut abnormality that seemed to have been finished before released, as it was used in one of the trailers for Lobotomy Corporation instead of Nameless Fetus. No idea why they cut it, probably because Little Helpers. My Sweet Orange Tree, another cut abnormality. Unlike Nori Nori, this one is slightly more complete with flavor text and a story. And from what I can gather, this abnormality would trap an employee in their chamber, and another employee would be needed to rescue them, like for Snow Queen. Its ability was to make memories real. I'm not sure how they would have implemented that, but nevertheless it's classified as a VAV, so they might have worked something out. There's also a mod that adds this abnormality into the game. Jang San Tiger, yet another cut abnormality. This one only has a portrait and concept art done for it. Rope and cord, another cut abnormality. This one is only this image, and we know nothing else about it. Puss in Boots, a cut abnormality. This one has two portraits and what I'm assuming is its abnormality flavor text. Lobotomy High. Lobotomy High is an April Fool's video that Project Moon posted on their old channel to advertise a fake Lobotomy Corporation dating visual novel, featuring a lot of cutesy versions of every abnormality, including cut ones and also Bender from Futurama, I guess, and Gumball, and also a Plumbus from Richard and Mortemeister. Now, I'm not telling anyone in the audience to make this game, but I'm saying it would be really funny if you did. Hell, if this video gets, I don't know, 4,000 likes, I'll sit down and make it myself, and that's a guarantee. I just pointed at the screen. Hammer of Light, a legacy abnormality, which was cut from the finished game. This abnormality resembled a hammer that would glow with the inscribed word sacrifique, which is most likely a misspelling of sacrifice. The abnormality wouldn't produce any energy, but when the facility would reach second trumpet, sending an employee into the chamber would make it so that the employee would turn into a being of light and summon more versions of itself to fight whatever breached. But after the second trumpet ends, the employee dies. Final Observation. The Final Observation is a cut mechanic that happened when you maxed out an abnormality's research level. It was sort of like a dialogue between you and the abnormality, or sometimes a monologue and you choose something. I'm not really sure why they cut this, but they seem to have brought a new version of it back in Limbus Company with the observations. Unused music. There are a bunch of unused tracks in Lobotomy Corporation that were bought by Project Moon but ended up going unused, my personal favorite being this one. Meme references and Steam achievements. Kaizo mods. There are mods that make Lobotomy Corporation and Library of Arena much more difficult. I even streamed a bit of the Lobotomy Corporation Kaizo mod on my channel. So, yeah. Gregor is short. Gregor is around 170 centimeters, which is 5'6". The 4 damage types are based on the 4 horsemen. White damage is conquest, black damage is famine, red damage is war, and pale damage is death. They're even color-coded. The clerk pistols are primarily used for suicide. The following information is disclosed only to the manager. These pistols are not to be used for abnormality suppression, even though the clerk manual states that the pistol is for self-defense and emergency situations. The clerks will learn the pistol's true intent when they are driven to the edge. Nemo just has a brain behind the screen. Legend of Arena. Legacy Agent Personalities. In the Legacy version, the personality mechanic used to be a lot more fleshed out. You had lifestyles, which you could see, and which would change the rate at which certain stats grew for each employee, and you had traits, which were small boosts to an employee's stats, The lifestyles were replaced with personalities and the traits with ego gifts. Standard training dummy rabbit is an upside-down employee. The art book reveals that all of these training dummies are just stuffed with dead employees. Do with that what you will. Enkephalin is real. Enkephalin, the green substance generated by Lobotomy Corporation throughout the games, is actually a real chemical that exists in your body right now. And get this, it's a natural opioid that helps with pain relief. So it's kind of exactly what it is in the game. Oswald's gender is question mark, question mark, question mark. In the art book, Oswald's gender is listed as question mark, question mark, question mark, even though in the game and in the art book he's referred to with he, him pronouns. Nothing There was the first abnormality. This is either in reference to the fact that Nothing There is seen in the first ever teaser trailer for Lobotomy Corporation, or it could be meaning that in universe Nothing There was the first abnormality to exist, and I'm not sure which one it could be. Yes, Nothing There appeared in the first ever trailer and was the first abnormality shown off in the demo video, but it wasn't the first abnormality designed. That would go to Big Bird, who was designed way before Lobotomy Corporation was even thought up by Kim Jae-on, the art designer. If this is in reference to Nothing There being the first in-universe abnormality, maybe. Since in the Red Mist page in Library of Rena, we see Kali talking about how she was given mimicry by Carmen, and by her reaction, we can assume that she didn't know what abnormalities were, or she just didn't have a good grasp of what they were yet. So it could have been the first abnormality that they extracted ego from. Carmen was fully conscious throughout everything. By everything, I assume they meant her suicide. During the Kether realization between each phase, there's a short cutscene. Before the second one, there's one about Carmen's final moments, where she talks about how, while she was bleeding out, she felt the strongest desire to live and how she was full of regret. Editing Dan here. Yet again, I have to correct his mistakes, because he was wrong. He was wrong about the whole thing. Well, maybe, I'm not sure what the person meant by the entry, but they most likely meant that she was aware of everything that was going on while she was in jar form, which I can't argue with them, because probably, I mean, she turns to Ayn in the cutscene where he blows up the facility, so she probably was like at least conscious, maybe a bit, maybe. Book Hunters. During the Book Hunters ending, which is the ending where Angela kills Roland and takes the light for herself, the library becomes more powerful than any star of the city. The library reigns on for 13 years and envelops the southern quarter of the city. This spawns a mysterious group called the Book Hunters, whose job was to serve Angela, or just a group devoted to Angela. It's not really clear what their job is, but what is known is that at one point one of the members killed all the others and then went for Angela, who was glad to finally be put to rest. Tommy and Mary are compared to Emma and Noah in the art book. In the notes for Emma and Noah, there is a note from the dev that mentions how they were worried that the fight would be too similar to Tomeri. Who the hell were the White Ordeal fixers? During the White Ordeals in Lobotomy Corporation, the facility gets attacked by fixers, who are all themed around the damage type. These fixers aren't really any fixers that have existed in the city, most likely, just Ain's memory of the concept of fixers from when they were sent to destroy the old Lobotomy Corporation. That is a Sphirot, which in itself is a combination of all 10 Sphirot. While it doesn't make an official appearance anywhere in the story, it's visible in Lobotomy Corporation in the form of a group of chains in the Atzilut layer and a single room containing Carmen. We can reasonably assume that since that is the combination of all their Sphirot, that the Sphira is Angela herself, and by definition, Carmen. Although there is a really good fan mod for Library of Rena that adds the floor of that, and I suggest you try it out. Distortion is reversible. In Distortion Detective, we find out that it's possible to reverse the distortion by guiding the distorted along the right path. Although the distorted can be pointed in the right directions, only they themselves can reverse the distortion. Benjamin and Diaz began the Smoke War. In Chapter 37 of the Distortion Detective, it's revealed that the Smoke War was started by Benjamin and Diaz with the help of R-Corp. They started the war so that L-Corp could take advantage of the war and rise to be a wing, which would serve Ain's purpose, which also served Diaz, who aims to be the head of the city. If you don't know who Diaz is, she's the richest person in the city and one of the main antagonists of the Distortion Detective, also the leader of the Ujat. Carmen is evil. Theory. Carmen is the most influential character in the lore, and after the events of Lobotomy Corporation, she becomes the voice of the distortion and the ego in the light. To say she's evil is kind of a matter of perspective. Carmen was always clear about her goal. It was to help humanity express their true selves to the world. This means that the distortion and ego both fall under the expressions of one's true self. She doesn't guide humanity to either, she just plants the idea in their head, and what happens to the person is up to the person themselves. So, in my opinion, Carmen isn't evil, and she isn't good either. Clown staring at me. A cut abnormality. Again, nothing is known about this one, although it does have a flavor text. Book without picture or words. Another cut abnormality. This one seems to be similar to Poor Screenwriter's Note, but again, it only has flavor text, which implies that it would grant wishes. Poor Screenwriter's Note. This is a legacy abnormality, which was, interestingly enough, replaced by Silent Orchestra when the full game came out. How this one would work was, when its mood was bad, it would start a play, and it would choose 4 random employees. One of them would be the protagonist, who would be named A, and there would be 4 other victims, murder victims, and the protagonist would go around killing the murder victims. Then you'd get 10 seconds to kill the protagonist with a bullet, or he just finds 4 other people and kills them. Interestingly enough, in the entry, the encyclopedia entry for this abnormality, it says that the names of the 4 other characters are the failed, the abandoned, the broken, the coward, and some other people, I guess. Which probably, if you align it with the floor of Asaya, maybe it has some parallels. I'm guessing this was cut because the story was originally supposed to go in a different direction. The good choice you're supposed to do is you're supposed to shoot the protagonist A. You're supposed to kill A. So maybe that was the original plan of the whole story of the Lobotomy Corporation. Maybe that's what was cut. But yeah, interesting abnormality. Alright, the next few are just abnormalities that only have text or that have very little stuff to talk about, in reference to their mechanics. So I'm just gonna read their text that shows up when you try to pick them. Pale Horse. Joseph came to me screaming, his face flushed with excitement. He told me that an abnormality he'd been taking care of suddenly knelt down and began to shed tears as it looked at him. You don't know Joseph? He's the guy who turned into Nothing There's shell a few months ago. The horse wasn't acting friendly or anything, it simply sensed the scent of death that permeated him. The beanstalk without Jack. It may sound like some ridiculous story, but I heard there was one employee who was determined to get all the way up to the top of the tree and eventually started to climb. If the tree has a concept of a top, then I guess that employee is doing well up there. Fallen Amurdad. That this abnormality was more than just a bleeding person in a vegetative state, and that it could hear all the meaningless words I have said and will say in the future and perfectly understand them. Cinderella's pumpkin carriage. The thing itself had never forgotten its glory days. Everything was rotting, but the memory of that night wasn't. Someone's portrait. I swear that damn portrait is trying to make us lower our guard. Why else would it show absolutely no movement during all the observations and work we've done? Pre-Legacy Lobotomy Corporation. There was an earlier version of Lobotomy Corporation that, as far as I know, was never accessible to players. I showed it previously in the video, but here's some gameplay from Project Moon's old channel. Malkut wants to eat District 23 food. In the art book, there's a quote from Malkut where she says, "As infamous as District 23 is, I heard the food is really that good." Kingfishers, a really minor syndicate group that's referenced in a few guest pages, although never having made an appearance in Project Moon Media. Rain of Hands Redemption, a legacy version of the Violet Noon ordeal. Here, instead of pillars falling from the sky, portals would slowly open up over the main rooms and the player would have to click on them to close them. The graphic for the hand that reaches out was later reused for the Violet Midnight ordeal. Magical Girl Date Simulator, a few April Fool's videos made to promote Lobotomy Corporation on Project Moon's old channels. The videos showcase a fake dating simulator with Magical Girl where she breaches at the end. Bong Bong Apple, Bong Bong Orange. This is another legacy version of an ordeal. The Amber Dawn used to spawn these little things called Bong Bong Apple and Bong Bong Orange all around the facility, and the player would have to click on them to destroy them before an employee steps on one. If they do, they'll take damage. The name of the event being Bong Bong is an amazing coincidence. It has nothing to do with the employee. Violet Dusk / Flood Tentacles, an event that was in Legacy that was removed from Legacy for most likely being too hard. It would spawn a bunch of tentacles with very high health and that did a lot of damage around the facility, which would need to be suppressed. Not only was this event removed, the concept of a Violet Dusk was removed entirely. Roland's thighs are exposed in the art book. Bina had her librarian clothes on in unused sprites. Awesome Library of Reno RP. This is just some Roblox game, I guess. Not sure why it's on here.
4th and 7th trumpets. In the art book, there are 7 trumpets instead of the 3 we see in game, which aligns more with the whole biblical significance of 7 trumpets. The first trumpet, well, the first through 3rd trumpets are supposed to be heard in the facility when an abnormality escapes and when it causes chaos. The 4th trumpet is for when the facility is completely done for. I don't know if this was supposed to be in-game at one point, since the very next trumpet, the 5th trumpet, the first line in the art book is you won't actually hear this alarm on any occasion. If the 4th trumpet is set off in many branches and facilities across the city, then the 5th trumpet will sound. And the 6th trumpet, when that sounds, Lobotomy Corporation falls as a wing, L Corp, as an entirety. And then the 7th trumpet is the complete destruction of humanity.
Silent Girl's sprite is weirdly horny.
The person who drew the art for the official Ein MV made Argalia and Chesed body pillows. Apparently, the person that made the art for the Day 50 MV that's on Project Moon's channel also made Argalia and Chesed body pillows. I don't know if this one is true, but the artist did make, because I can't find anything about it online. And also, thank you to the creator of this iceberg for making me look up Chesed and Argalia body pillow. My ISP needed to know that I searched that up. The artist in question also made an Argalia made acryl thing, so honestly I wouldn't put it past them.
Carmen Distorted theory. This one could be saying that the voice is Carmen in a distorted form, or just Carmen's distortion. I'm not sure about this since we haven't seen a distortion happen after someone's death, unless she's some sort of new, powerful type of distortion. Jae-hyun and Oswald are compared to Tommy and Mary in the art book. I'm not sure where it says this. I can't find anything on it anywhere, so I don't really know what to say about this. 14 taboos and taboo hunters. Taboos are the rules of the city. Each district has its own taboos, and if an individual were to break these taboos, a taboo hunter sent by N-Corp will hunt them down and either bring them to N-Corp where they will be executed or execute them themselves. The 14 taboos are a set of taboos that apply to the nest of N-Corp. Carmen is a singularity theory. This is another theory that I can't find lots about, but I'm going to assume that it's related to the fact that L-Corp's singularity is to extract the subconscious, which was done with the Kajito flowing from Carmen, and by Carmen herself after the light. So I guess you could say that the person behind the singularity was always Carmen, even though Kajito existed way before humanity. Carmen is the singer in Millie songs theory. This one I'd say is disproved by the fact that almost all of the Millie distortion songs are structured like the thoughts of the distorted individual, but you can argue that it's Carmen vocalizing their thoughts for us to hear. But with Limbus Company though, we actually get to hear what I assume is the voice of the distortion during Between Two Worlds, because of how the lyrics are structured. It's also present as backing vocals during the entire song, the deeper voice singing along with Cromer's thoughts. So the theory wouldn't have been right back then when this iceberg was made, but now we can say that although she isn't the singer, she's present in the song.
Okay, before I move on to tier 5, I just want to cover these 4 that I missed somehow. I didn't record any audio for them for some reason. Here's Siren, or Siren that sings the past. Here's the Little Mermaid. Here's the Sphinx. Here are Gods of the Seasons. These could be what later turned into either the Magical Girls or the Birds. It could be either or, because you have the summer deity here and the spring deity, so I'm assuming it's like these 3 transformed into these other 2 somehow under some conditions. Or I could be wrong, they could have just been completely different abnormalities and we'll never know. Anyways.
People stole silverware from Ham Ham Peng Peng. Apparently this is just in reference to some Twitter posts from the Ham Ham Peng Peng Twitter about fans stealing silverware, which... come on, don't do that. Warden. This cut abnormality literally only has this sketch, and it's a shame that they cut it because, I mean, look at it, it looks so cool. Distorted form. Another sketch, this one is just unfinished. Only a few people worked on Lobotomy Corporation. Only 6 people created Lobotomy Corporation's first version, all of which were college students. Chessed's Love Sensor. This is a reference to the old bad translation of Lobotomy Corporation's old beta version, where Chesed would say this line. Incredibly colorful old UI. Facebook.com/Project Lobotomy. The old Lobotomy Corporation Facebook. I would say it's worth checking out since there's a few weird old ego concepts in it, and some wallpapers. A popular Roblox game stole Burrowing Heaven, renamed it, and put it behind the paywall. Exactly what the title says. A game called Toy Tale RP stole the Burrowing Heaven, named it The Reach, and put its model behind the paywall without mentioning Lobotomy Corporation anywhere. Last time I checked, the item containing the Burrowing Heaven is still in the store and is still behind the paywall. Mist Reaper/Mist Angel of Death. Another cut abnormality. Today's shy look wiggles its feet, according to the art book. Yup. Apostles once have a sizzling effect. They used to have a sizzling effect in the earlier versions of the game, but it was removed. Jeremy the Agent. Jeremy is the first named agent we see in the trailers, and here he is again in the 2017 Celebration poster, and here he is again in the art book.
Lobotomycorp.kr. This one isn't in the iceberg. I just found the website, and I thought I should put it in the iceberg since I... This one isn't in the iceberg, but I found the website and I thought I should put it in because it was cool. Lobotomycorp.kr is a now defunct Lobotomy Corporation website that existed before and shortly after the game released to, you know, bring hype to the game. It has some information on abnormalities, text about the cut abnormalities. I can go through it, maybe, possibly. It has updates for Lobotomy Corporation before and shortly after released. I mean, hey, if you want that cut content video, you know, I'll look through the website as well.
Ojuma. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what this is referencing. The only thing I could find on this was that Ojma is how the name of Ozma is sounded out in the original Korean version. Gebura called Chesed ableist slurs. I, for the life of me, couldn't find anything on this one. It might be something with the old translation, but I'm not sure. Unused canon ego in Lobotomy Corporation. This graphic for a canon ego is in the files of the game, but remains unused and unassigned to any abnormality. It could be for Nosferatu, as I saw someone point out. People stabbed the Gebura cutout in Ham Ham Peng Peng. I have no way to verify if this actually happened or why it happened, but apparently, according to multiple reports, it did happen. Fans did go up and stab the Gebura cutout. I'm not sure why. I don't know what goes wrong with your day for you to want to stab a cardboard cutout of a fake character, but you do you, I guess. The rabbits were originally called the Special Squadron and weren't rabbit themed. The earliest design of the rabbits is this one, where they have a more hazmat cleanup crew look. No resemblance to rabbits whatsoever. Also, by how the text is phrased, the rabbits were originally going to be a more common unit type, just like the employees. I'm guessing sort of like the mobile task force for the SCP Foundation. That's definitely what they used to be. Monster Lobotomy, bootleg app. When Lobotomy Corporation was released, there were a lot of bootleg apps that showed up on Google Play for Android. I'm not sure if they still exist, but I'd advise against downloading them. Who knows what they're filled with. Hakma Milk. Angela was hinted to be an abnormality in the Legacy version of Lobotomy Corporation. In the Legacy version, Angela would still betray the player, but this time instead of being the reincarnation of Carmen, it's heavily implied that she's an abnormality. Philip died on the same day as Prince Philip. Again, not sure what this is referencing since we don't have a canon date that Philip died, but I'm assuming that the update that had the last Philip fight was released on April the 9th. Maybe. I don't know. Project Moon Pixif tags. Do not research.
This is another one that I have no idea what it's going on about here. I'm currently on the Project Moon Pixif tags. It's not bad or anything, it's just a lot of AI as of recently. Which is bad. But nothing serious. Maybe back then it had other things, and maybe back when this iceberg was made there was something. I'm not sure. Whatever it is, it's definitely just lost to time forever, and we'll never ever know ever what this poster was referring to when they made that entry. And that's it. That's the entire iceberg video. Thank you for sticking around till the end. Hopefully you stuck around till the end and didn't just skip to see this goodbye message, which would be really weird of you. Thanks for watching this entire video, which took way too long to make, and I'm never gonna make something like this ever again until the inevitable Limbus Company iceberg comes out. Then I'll be the guy to make it. Leave it to me, okay? So yeah, if you are planning on doing the Limbus Company iceberg when it comes out, and if you've heard this message, just know I have the coordinates. I have the drone strike. I have the bomb. I have the guns. I have your house. And I know where you live. Goodbye. And thank you to people who watch Chudbotomy Soyperation. My